Hello, welcome back to Covered Call Corner. I'm Denny Benson. Again, the caveats are, these are my opinions and should not be taken as investment advice. Consult your investment advisor before making any investment. These transactions do have downside risk. What are we going to look at this week? We're going to look at the SPDRs. It's an ETF, it's an Exchange Traded Fund. That's what ETF stands for. It represents the S&P 500. This is a great way of chasing general market moves. If you haven't done research on particular individual stocks, investing in the overall market, such as a SPDR ETF or a SPY, can help you participate in the market. It generally reflects how the whole market is going. One milestone was reached last week. The S&P 500 did close over 4,000 last week for the very first time. What I found interesting with the SPDR ETF, SPY, was there are a lot of expiration dates. I did not know this until very recently. And instead of just expirations every Friday, they have expirations on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and on the last trading day of the calendar quarter. So there's lots of expiration dates. You can play this very short term. You can take a more broader approach. We'll look at the numbers, and we're going to do it a little bit differently this week. We're just going to talk generally about different strategies and not get a specific analysis on anything in particular. So I'm trying something new this week. I'm trying to show you a live shot of my Schwab account, trying to keep a lot of my personal information out. But it shows you the SPDR, the 1 day, the 404s trading at 28 cents. But if you go out to Friday, I can look at 16 options for Friday. So the 404s are selling for $1.24. So that's about 0.3% for about a 0.75% move. So this might be a call that you roll into. But notice all these different dates. You can pick something like Monday, April 26th. And here the 405s are 3.25. Okay, so if you think the market's going to go up quite a bit, if you think it's going to blow out to 4,200 on the S&P, you don't want to be stuck in 405s. But if you think the market's going to stay about the same, that might be good. Another thing is that maybe you sell the 380s. If you think the market's going to go down to 3,800, you're still making a couple $100 for the month, even though the S&P drops 5%. So, this is a really interesting way to play the covered calls with SPDRs. Like I said, I just discovered this last week, that there are so many expirations instead of just the weekly Fridays that you see with a lot of common stocks. But this is so heavily owned, so heavily traded, that there's obviously a market for this. So you can look by pure volume. By the end of April, people think that the S&P could be 4150. So that's a significant up from where we are at 400, 401. So obviously a lot of plays there, and you can write that call. So just something different this week I wanted to show you with that. So here are my thoughts about this. SPY is the largest ETF in the world. I recently did a short trip from Florida up to North Carolina and then came back the next day. I drove the distance. It was about 600 miles each direction, about 640 coming back, because I went up through Atlanta and then I came back through Chattanooga and Birmingham. My personal observation is the economy looks strong. And notice the all caps there. There were traffic jams in the cities. There was a lot of activity going on. People traveling, trucks on the move. There was just a lot going on. A lot more than what we have seen in over the last 14 months. So with SPDR, you can make these very short-term plays, often a day or two. It's not going to make you a huge amount of money doing this, but every little bit can help. And what a technique might be is to generate additional cash, and then with that additional cash, you buy fractional shares through time. So you increase your position in the SPDRs, not just with a dividend reinvestment, but using a covered call reinvestment strategy, if you will. It's also a technique to leverage a long-term play if you think that the S&P is going to correct. That would be a different opinion than what I currently have, down to 3,400 or something like that. But maybe inflation rears its ugly head and it affects the valuation of stocks. That could happen. So please remember, this is my opinion only. All right, recent activity, the reopening continues doing well now. Carnival Cruise Line, American Airlines, MGM Resorts all did great last week. I'm rolling again for another week. I have CCLs at 27s, American Airlines at 24, and MGM in the money at 38.5. So those are continuing to roll that. Was able to generate a lot of cash going from buying back a call and then selling a new call in these securities at these prices. Was a very nice beneficial week, well over 1% gain for me for the week in my portfolio. Now the Ford, which I discussed last week, proved to be a great covered call play. The stock went down from about $12.30 to about $12.10, about down 20 cents per share. But selling the $12.50 calls at 33 cents actually generated enough cash to come out ahead for the week. So that is a great example of why covered calls really work in this scenario. If the stock's not going anywhere or it goes down slightly, you can still be making money. And that's a great thing. All right, I'm going to concentrate on more ETFs next week. We'll be looking at probably the QQQs from the NASDAQ. And then after that, in the weeks ahead, we'll start looking at leveraged ETFs and writing calls on them. Have a whole different perspective on that. So if you're looking for basic investment advice, I invite you to look at Derek Benson's personal finance YouTube channel. Once again, Derek Benson, D-E-R-E-K, Benson, B-E-N-S-O-N. I think he does fabulous stuff, and I highly recommend it. But if you have questions or suggestions about what I'm doing here on Cover Call Corner, please email at covercallcorner@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to respond to you and happy to take suggestions for possible future weekly suggestions. And with that, I hope that this coming week is as profitable as last week was for me. So I wish everybody the best in the market moving ahead. See you again soon.